Hello everybody, my name is Michael, and in today's video what we're going to be doing is this right here. So if that looks exciting to you guys, please carry on and watch the video. Oh, and just one more thing before we go. Please consider like, commenting, and subscribing if you enjoyed the video. But now with all that out of the way, let's carry on with the video. Okay, so just quickly before we get into painting our Spectator here, I've just added a bit of gravel to our base. It's just come off my driveway, and then I've just given that a quick prime. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start off with some bright green from Vallejo, and I'm going to giving this a nice overall coverage of the pretty much the entirety of the miniature. We're just going to be avoiding places like the mouth and the eyes, of course, but giving it a nice, good highlight, really making sure we get into those cracks and recesses that we've got there, since there is a lot of this on this miniature, especially since our Spectator here is sort of got these little like armor plates and scales all over it. So spend a little bit of time in there making sure you really get a good coverage overall and getting in between those little nooks and crannies. Then once you've done that, we can start off with our tongue now, and then we're going to start off with some alien purple to do this. So we've got that nice base coat of our green there, and a nice good colour to complement that and really help make it stick out on the tables, going in with a nice purple and really help accentuate all those colours. So getting in there, really getting into the mouth, being careful to avoid painting onto that green area, but we're still in our base coating stage, so we don't have to worry about it too much. It's just more for your brush control. Then with that tongue nicely picked out, we're going to come in now with some Nocturna Shadow. And what we're going to be doing with this Nocturna Shadow, since it's a nice deep dark green, is I'm going to be using it to pick out just these little horns on here. You may not have noticed it on the miniature here. I thought it was all completely scales, but it's actually got a few little horns sticking out all over the miniature, sort of on the back of his head and just on the bottom under his chin here. So coming in with that, really giving it some more visual interest. We want to add in that, nice big pop and punch and giving that visual interest all over the pieces, and picking out little things like this is going to help us do that. Then once we've got all those horns nicely picked out, we're going to come in now with some faerzress purple, which is a brighter purple there. And we're going to be using this as a highlight on our tongue. So really getting in that nice high point, just leaving a little bit off to the side and making the light just come off from the side here, really giving it a nice visual interest to the piece there once it's completely dried up, and really make it look like it's got that nice bright sun coming down, radiating, giving off a different color, and really adding in a lot of contrast to the piece to give it more of an exciting look from a distance. Then once we have that complete, you can leave it there, or you can come in with another highlight like I'm doing here. I'm using Squid Pink to do this, which is even brighter highlight, of course, since it's a nice pink color. And I'm just going to be sticking it close to the edge here, as you can see, really keeping it to this side, really making a nice bright eye-catching piece from a distance, and being careful we're going here. I don't want to cover up too much of our highlight we've already got on there, as well as our base coat. So it's just a matter of coming in, getting that nice line that we want there, trying to keep it as even as possible, but it's not a too big a deal if you don't. Then now we've got that tongue all highlighted up, time to move back on with our main part of our miniature here, where we've got those nice scales, and you're using goblin green to do this, and my camera is nice and out of focus, so you can really see the finer points and details I'm really going into here, really getting all that nitty gritty stuff. So I've got to blur it out so you can't see what I'm doing here. I can't show you all my techniques, I've got to keep it, there we go. Now we'll come back into focus, you can see what I'm doing here, and that's just a matter of going around, picking out those little scales all over the miniature here. It's going to take a lot of time, but it's going to be very much worth it in the end, especially on these little ridges here. It's going to really make it an eye-catching piece from a distance by picking out all those little areas. So it's worth spending some time if you want to have that nice oh wow moment from a distance. Then once we have all those scales picked out, we're going to come back in with some jungle green now, and now it's time to pick out scales again. So we've just gone through that nice highlighting process and taking a long time really picking all those out. And now we're going to be doing it again, this time in an even smaller quantity, but with a much brighter color. And it's going to really boost that contrast way, way up, especially with this jungle green. It's very like highlighted green looking color. And as you can see here, I'm sort of dabbing it in corners and stuff. I'm not brushing over the entire bit with our goblin green that we did in the last step. It's just picking out certain areas and pieces. So find your area you want there, wherever you can get into that with that brush, and just picking out the little spots and edges there, not going too crazy like we did in the last step. Then once we have that complete, it's time to come in now with some washes, and I'm going to be using druchii violet to start off with, and this is of course for inside our mouth and our tongue here. Really going to tie all those colours nicely together. Now you could apply this wash first and then apply the highlights over top, but I like doing the wash second, so I can tie those colours in nicely together, especially since we've got that pink in there. It's a very, very contrasting highlight in there. So washing it down with our druchii violet and giving it that purple wash is going to help tie it in just a little bit better. Then once that wash is completely dry, what we're doing now is coming in with some casandora yellow, which is a yellow wash, and it may seem a little bit strange here since we just used purple wash for the tongue and mouth for our purple areas. Then I'm coming in and using a yellow wash for our green areas of the model, and this is going to give it that nice, really contrasting effect onto our paints here. Really give it that yellow, greenish tinge. I just like the way it turns out. I accidentally stumbled across it a little while ago with one of my other miniatures, and I really enjoy the way it comes out. It really helps give a nice vibrancy to the piece when you add in a yellow wash over top of the green, especially since we're using those light colours of greens like our jungle greens in there, which are very highlighter coloured, and it's going to really boost that contrast way, way up once it's completely dry. Then once we have our wash completely dry, what we're doing now is coming in with some deck tan, which is sort of off-white greyish colour, and we're going to be using this to be picking out all the teeth of our Spectator here. So really getting in there, you can see I've got a nice finer tip brush, and these are nice, very small needly type teeth, so a lot of brush control needed here to pick out all those teeth. So spend a little bit of time really getting those teeth nailed down. It's going to really help sell the effect of a nice big scary monster. Then once we have all those teeth picked out, we're going to come in now with some ivory, which is still an off-white color, but a lot brighter. And this is going to be for our eyes of the miniature. So going around very, very carefully now and picking out those eyes, especially our nice big central eye. We want to be really careful with that. It's a nice big focus point of the miniature. So we want to spend a little time, go over with a couple of layers, really get that nice and smooth. And as well as these eye stalks that we have here on our Spectator, we want to be getting those in there. Maybe a little bit hard to see on camera, but it does have the little eyelids and stuff in there, so you can follow the guide on the actual sculpted model itself to really get an idea of where those eyes should be. Then once we have all those eyes picked out, it's time to come in with some contrast paint, and it's going to be akhelin green. And I'm going to be using this for the big central eye of our Spectator here, and this is going to be the most scary, nerve-wracking part of the whole miniature, is to try and get a nice circle coloured iris on the piece. So spend a lot of time here. I'll tell you what, I'm being pretty nervous about doing this. I'm actually surprised with how well it came out in the end, but I just spent a lot of time really focusing on it, just continuously going around keeping control. And one more thing too, since this is contrast paint and it has a tendency to pull, keep very close eye on it drying to make sure it doesn't run anywhere you don't want it to. And then once you got that iris all picked out, we're going to come in now with some seraphim sepia, and this is going to be used for the wash just around the edge of the eyes here, really giving it a sort of realistic effect, like it's got it's got that nice bit of grunge and stuff on the center of its eye, and also making it look a little bit more 3D and more lifelike, giving it those darker recessed areas. Now it's just around the edge. I'm just focusing around the edge. I'm not washing it over the entirety of the eye. That would give it a very different look, and I'm just wanting it for around the edge to make it look like this thing's always constantly gazing and watching. It is a Spectator after all. They're used for watching things, so I want to make it look like it's got a bit of strain on the eye, and going in with seraphim sepia just on the edges make it look like it's constantly watching and it's getting that little bit of stress. It's going to help hopefully sell the effect anyway. As well as that, we're also going to be using the seraphim sepia to be giving a quick wash over the teeth of our Spectator here as well. So don't forget to do that while you're going around the eyes. Then once those areas of the sepia wash is done, we're going to come back in again with our deck tan now, and this is just a matter of highlighting the teeth. So we're not doing a full paint like we did before. It's just a matter of really coming in and picking out just the tips of the teeth here. So spend a little bit of time, like I said, what we did with those scales all over our Spectator, and pick out those teeth properly to give that nice, good overall effect. And it's going to really, as you can see here, just by quickly dabbing them on, it's really giving that effect too, that we've got this nice, grungy, sort of unkept teeth. Then once we have that complete, it's time to come in with some matte black, and now time for another very nerve-wracking part of the miniature. Time to paint in the pupils, and you can see I've switched to a very fine brush for this. I'm so scared, and I tell you what, I am amazed with how it turned out. by just coming in with this finest point brush I had and very, very carefully going around picking out the lines and keeping them straight. Now, the good thing about the Spectator here is it's got eyes going off in all different directions, so you can practice your eyes at all different directions. Don't trust me, it was very nerve-wracking trying to follow where would all these eyes be looking and picking a direction to put these pupils so it looks like the eyes are naturally looking that direction and it's not a big cross-eyed monster with eyes all over the place. So take your time, really think about where these eyes are looking, and you can use this video of course as a reference for where to put these eyes. And then one just cool little trick for the end, so this miniature's nice and painted up. I'm actually going to come in with some gloss varnish here, and I'm going to be placing the gloss varnish over the tongue and over the eyes, and this is going to sell the effect like it's a nice wet dripping monster, and it's really going to add in just a awesome effect once it's dry. Now, when I'm placing on this gloss varnish, as you can see here, it can be a little bit foggy and grey and cloudy. Don't worry about that. Once it's completely dry, all that fogginess and cloudiness will brighten up and become completely clear. So if you're worried about that, like I was a little bit worried at the start, but I do know that once the gloss varnish is applied like that, it does completely dissolve away and it becomes a nice clear shiny piece, and this is really going to help sell the effect that this monster is alive. And with that, we have finally finished painting up our Spectator from the Dungeons & Dragons miniatures range by Wizkids. So I hope this video has been helpful for you guys, whether you want to follow along with what I did here, or you just want to use this video for some inspiration in painting up your own miniatures. So with all that said guys, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I can't wait to see you all in the next video.